Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Intentional Living Podcast. Marty Keller here in Sacramento, California, and my colleague mentor, John Donovan in Oceanside, California.
Hey, Marty.
How are you doing this fine afternoon?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah.
Good, good. We talked about saying good and well in a previous podcast, so anybody who's interested in our crazy take on that, please feel free to check us out. If you're here for the first time, the Intentional Living Podcast is here to help us look at how to break patterns of behavior when we say that there's something I don't want, and nonetheless, I do it anyway. And I'll give you an example. This is something, John, that you use in your meetings that you facilitate on this process. So, for example, have you ever hurt someone that you loved and later regretted it and then turned around and did it again the exact same way?
Yep.
Or have you ever realized in the middle of an argument that you were actually wrong about the issues that you were fighting for, and nonetheless continue to fight along the same lines anyway?
Right.
Or have you ever known that you were about to do or say something that you would regret, maybe even became aware of a voice in your head saying, don't say that or don't do that, and you found yourselves unable or unwilling to stop?
Right.
Well, these are the kinds of compulsive behaviors that we take a look at appreciating and learning to change. And we do this by examining and uncovering the subconscious obstacles to what we want. And we learn to befriend them and make them allies in manifesting the behaviors and the life that we really do want instead. Much of, if not all of these behaviors, the origins can be found in childhood trauma. And that's something that occurs to almost every human being in the first 3, 4, or 5 years of life before we even have the conscious mind to say, don't do that. I don't want that. I don't like that. All of
Right.
those, that earliest period of our lives where we're, we're just completely helpless to make any decisions on our own. So all we can do is react. And if there's patterns of emotional violence or physical or even sexual violence, our little bodies, little infant or little child bodies, can only react emotionally as and try to find a way to survive whatever threats that we may be experiencing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, John, and because we've been taking a look at what we call the accountability practice principles. And these are a series of insights or statements that help us to understand A, some of the subconscious processes that I was referring to there, and or B, some of the solutions that we've come up with to help all of us create the lives that we really want to live and to step fully and powerfully into those. And
Hmm.
so, before I bring up the list, any thoughts about what we're up to here before we get going?
Actually, no, I'm ready to get into the next principle. Again, I'm grateful to be able to have these conversations with you.
Yeah, they're illuminating. And hopefully, for those of you that are watching this with us, you find something useful for yourself. So these principles go all the way back to this very first one on the list. I'm always getting what I want. This is not in any order of power or correctness. They're just listed in the order that we thought of them. So each one of these, from my perspective, is as useful as the other. So and each one of these has a podcast that we have talked about these in great depth and tried to look at them from different perspectives and different understandings to explain why we think these principles have value. And we started out in October, I think it was, with I'm always getting what I want. It's never about the other person. The issue is not the issue. People treat me the way I want them to. The quality of my life is determined by the focus of my attention. Life happens for me, not to me. What I resist persists. Hurt people hurt people. The world outside me is but a reflection of the world inside me. And correspondingly, life is lived from the inside out. There's another principle that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. Trust the body, which is in alignment with what we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, remain remain blame free and judgment free. Healing is contagious. The more conscious we are of what we choose, the more powerful the choice. Every thought has a corresponding body sensation. Personalize everything and yet don't take anything personally. And the one we worked on last week is the answer is not the answer. So today we want to take a look at I cannot not feel. I am always feeling something. And this goes to the heart of our practice, which we call the accountability tree. And it's because the emotional body we talked about up here a couple of weeks ago, trust the body. The emotional body is where the action is for the kind of recovery work that we are doing here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop the share screen and ask for your initial take on this principle. I cannot not feel. I'm always feeling something.
Yes. Um, I would, before my pre-recovery, I would go to therapist. In my childhood, I was admonished as a man, man, dysfunctional family of origin, dysfunctional childhood trauma. And this is the societal role that men foist on each other. Um, we hold ourselves to a standard. Don't feel, don't cry, don't be a sissy. Quit your complaining, get the job done, um, and nobody cares how you feel. Um, so I did that, and then I struggle in my 20s and 30s. I go to a therapist, and I go, I present with the problem, which is actually her. She's the problem. Okay. And the first question the therapist asked me is, how do you feel about that? And my thought is, what has that got to do with anything I'm talking about? And it goes back to the one last week is I'm looking for an answer and you're giving me this psychobabble stuff. Well, um, even though I was conditioned as a child to ignore my feelings or deny, the feelings never stopped. They
Right.
were always there. I separated from the familiarity or the contact with them. They were there. And then in the addiction field, why do you take drugs? Oh, to feel good. It's like, gotcha. It's like, because they do, they alter your perception in the moment, which is a different body sensation. I remember taking my first couple drinks of beer, and then having this euphoria, having this like, oh my God, where did I put that down at? It's like, I want more of this. And that started this relationship with alcohol. Why? Because I felt free. I was uninhibited. I was talking. I was like enjoying myself. And then when I got sober, somebody said, "Well, how do you feel?" What's that got to do with anything? I don't feel it. I'm numb, and I wouldn't even know how to say that. We have catchwords like sad, hurt, afraid, excited, passionate, and people would talk about being excited, and I'd look at them and I wonder how they do that. How do they like get all excited and like jump around because they're excited? What are they doing? Well, they were connected to their emotional body. I had to look, upright, manly, always in control. So excitement looked weak. So I didn't want to be weak or perceived as weak. So I would like be what I call stoic. It's like um, I didn't understand what they were doing, and I get into recovery, and it's all about reconnecting. And I want to say my feeling body, but reconnecting to the information source to move towards my fulfillment. Okay, so if I'm feeling discomfort in my body. And I recognize I'm feeling uncomfortable instead of saying, you're pissing me off, you're frustrating me. When you do that, you trigger me. No, I'm feeling discomfort. I can move to comfort. I can move to, or I can be proactive instead of reactive. And it was such a long journey. I started 88, and I stayed for whatever. Thank you, God, for keeping me in the rooms. And I discovered this. Oh my God, I'm always in an emotional state. In fact, emotions is my body's way of gleaning information that I cannot get through my five senses: see, hear, taste, touch, smell. And we use terms like, when you walked into the room, you could cut the tension with a knife. Now, those rooms I walked into before, everybody had a smile on their face, or everybody was doing something based on what I saw. There was no problem because I wasn't connected to my emotional body. Once I got connected, I could feel that somebody's having a bad day. Somebody's like, something's going on that I need to pay attention to because I feel this tension. That information now, I didn't get through my five senses. I got through my feeling body, which alerted me to pay attention, see what's going on, see who's where, who to move close to, who not to, whether this is the right place for me, making a choice for my own well-being. Where before, I'd walk into the room and then start participating in the tension or the chaos or the drama or the posse building or picking on somebody or being the butt of joke, whatever was going on, I would participate in that mess. I say, kind of tongue in cheek, I used to walk into every room leading with my head. Somebody would punch me in the head, and I'd say, "Why'd you punch me in the head?" And well, John, you were leading with your head. So now I walk into the room and I'm connected to my heart space, and if there's tension, I'm cautious. And I don't need to I need to tell. I don't have to have a reason. I feel it. Oh, pay attention. Something's going on that we can't see. So that alerts me to being proactive instead of reactive. I can now make decisions based on this feeling tone, discomfort, whatever you might want to call it, or sometimes sadness or tension would be fear, or the feeling of being violated, hurt. Somebody is violating. Oh, well, that felt hurtful, and then that hurt, and then take an action to eliminate the hurt or set a healthy boundary or remove myself where before it was their fault. I'm going to punch you out, or I'm leaving and I'll never see you guys again. You're out of my life. Kind of thing. And don't ever lie to me, because if you lie to me, that's one thing I cannot handle. I'll cut you off if you lie to me. And me immersed in all the lies that I was telling myself because I didn't want to see myself as a liar. That's another topic, but yeah, connected to that emotional body. And there's no time where you're not in an emotional state. And I know that now, and I'm paying attention. What I've come to over the practice of the 28 years in accountability and 38 in recovery is I don't have to name. It's like I'm in this flow. And an example, if I go into my daughter's house and she's preoccupied with something or in a trigger, or okay, cool. I'll come back when. And I don't say this to her. I'll just come in, check, see how you are. I'll be over at the house if you need anything. And instead of trying to fix her or figure out what's going on, none of my business. None of my business. But I get that through the connection to my body, to my visceral, musculoskeletal system, because I can feel it in my tissue. It's a physical vibration,
Right.
frequency.
Well, one of you often use the term that human beings are electromagnetic biochemical
Being.
organisms.
Yeah.
And so for me, the first time you ever said that, so electromagnetic means pulsing.
Yes.
Electromagnetism is a wave function, so there's always a pulse going on. And so
Yes.
every single cell of my body is producing a pulse. And the cells are not only
Yes.
producing pulses in their individual existence, but they're also cooperating with systems of cells, ultimately with organs that will also produce a pulse or a wave function of for the whole thing. So you got all the
Correct.
individual cells are doing this, and then they're also producing together, like your heartbeat.
Right.
Uh, right now, I can feel, for example, the temperature of the air on my face. My skin
Yeah.
receptors are processing this, and they're reacting to it.
Hmm.
And it's remarkable to me, going all the way back to the beginning of what you said. It's remarkable to me that our minds are so powerful that they can block those sensations out. That our entire body is producing them 24/7, like you said. Um, One of the things that would be helpful, I think, is to just recognize that um, for the most part, our bodies, the intensity of this activity is at a relatively even keel. And
Hmm.
so right now, for example, you and I are talking, and uh, I'm feeling calm, and I'm feeling at peace, and so my heartbeat is fairly standard, steady. I don't feel any adrenaline. I don't feel any spike of energy, but I could, I could in a blink of an eye,
Yeah.
something could. In fact, I could. We're actually powerful enough beings that I can generate adrenaline squirt just by thinking some catastrophizing thought,
Correct.
and immediately change this even keel. So what tends to happen, the reason I say that is for most of us, what tends to happen is we never learned to pay attention to the feeling state of our bodies because it's not acute all the time.
Correct.
It's normally
Yeah.
it's normally pretty easygoing and pretty relaxed, and um, it's at homeostasis. But something happens, and then our heart rate goes up, adrenaline, or uh, usually it's adrenaline, particularly if it's a threat, there's a threat that we experience either coming out there, or we interpret something out there as a threat based on unresolved childhood trauma, and then
Hmm.
boom, our body is now into a completely different mode. And even
Correct.
then, we can block out the sensation.
Correct.
One of
Um,
the first ways I learned to pay attention to this, John, is back when I started working with you, and learned that when I'm driving on the freeway, it's a great place to learn. Driving on the freeway and somebody cuts me off, basically what I used to do is, curse at the person and yell, and completely unaware that fear and adrenaline had flooded my body. I was
correct.
unaware of it, even though it was intense.
Yes.
I was busy being angry
Yep.
as a cover up. So part of what I learned from the intentional living process that you've taught me is to recognize that there are fundamental primary states of feeling that are there to teach me something. And we
Correct.
talked about this in great detail on the principle trust the body, but this is a different one. This is that no matter what's going on, my body's producing sensation, and
Yes.
I can clue into it.
Correct. So before my recovery, I was stuck in a trauma pattern or a feeling of, and the way I would articulate it is always waiting for the next shoe to drop.
Yep.
Well, that's an alert place. That's an adrenalized, because shoes hurt, especially if they're dropping on your head. So the next shoe to drop, I would be in a we call it hypervigilant, which is alert and yet full of um, um, not testosterone, the other one, adrenaline. Okay, so I'm adrenalized, and doctors know that a lot of our illnesses are created by stress. What? An overabundance of adrenaline when it's not necessary.
Right.
When I'm on the freeway, there's probably more of a necessity for adrenaline to hit my body than any place else. And the guys in the jail, when I worked with them, I would talk to them being in this adrenalized state, and where they were in the jail, it's reasonable for them to be on alert with all these guys going around all with an agenda and you don't know what it is, to be alert and for safety reasons. So okay, but and notice that your body's there so that it's not your fault or you're stupid or the people, or no, this is a concern. You need to be concerned where you're at. You need to pay attention. Okay, where I was at, which is with my family, my kids on a summer vacation, something, and I'm in this hypervigilant place. I'm, oh my God, I'm not available to what's going on in the current reality because I have this old belief that, okay, the next shoe's going to drop. And so I present in a reactive way instead of what I now know to be a proactive way. In other words, put a distance between my action and the stimulus of my action. We call it trigger, and know that I have control over that based on what I'm feeling in my body. Every thought has a corresponding body sensation. Body sensations shift with chemistry. We control the chemistry in our body. We can produce adrenaline, we can produce serotonin, we can all the other dopamine, all the ones based on our awareness of where we're at when we're here, instead of being stuck in an old pattern that's subconscious. When's the next shoe going to drop? That I don't even know I have, and can't relax. One of the things I looked for was just to feel comfortable in my own skin. Please, it's like I found it, and this is the information. This is the information I gleaned, and then in the practice of the accountability tree and the other practices that we have, learn to regulate that emotional state. So if I got alerted, like right now, if a loud noise happens, I would be oriented to the noise, which is reasonable, and then I could let it go. I could understand where it came from and let it go. Where before, I was anticipating, expecting something to happen all the time, which kept me in this chemistry of adrenaline, body state of feeling tense. And if you ask me, how you doing, John? I'm okay. I'm fine. Because I had no clue that this was going on.
Yeah. So the reason this is important to me, this principle, is because the foundation of recovery, as you have worked it and other people have, is
Yeah.
through the feeling body.
Mm-hmm.
The doorway to recovery is not through my thinking mind, it's through the feeling body. And if
Right.
I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm always feeling something that I can't not feel,
Correct.
then uh, I can be I can start to relax into my feeling body. Because how many times have I been in a meeting, or have you been in a meeting, and we're working with people, and they go and they say, "Well, how are you feeling?" I go, I'm not feeling anything.
Correct.
And yeah, your body is producing sensation, and something is keeping you from recognizing that.
Correct.
So oftentimes, what I'll do in those kinds of situations, I'll say, and I can say this to anybody who's listening in right now. Okay, you're not feeling. Okay, cool. Would you be willing to just put your focus on your foot and see what your foot's doing?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you feel underneath your foot? Do you feel the floor? What does it feel hard? Is it? And it's like, okay, would you be willing to notice that you now are feeling?
That's it.
and that it was always there. You just weren't focused on it.
Correct.
And so it's a
And
question of creating focus.
yes, I was working with a young man when I was doing occupational massage therapy, and I said, "What are you feeling?" He goes, "I don't feel anything." And I thought, okay, he doesn't understand. It's okay.
Right.
So I said, where and what do you feel when you have? That's what I'm talking about. That kind of sensation. Do you feel anything any other place? He goes, oh yeah, my shoulders. Oh, okay. Ah, all right. Nice deep breath. Just let your shoulders drop. And you got kind of, because when I say this, or when somebody said it to me, like the therapist, I go into therapy and how you feeling, and I'm thinking, what's that got to do with anything? No, it's reorienting, reestablishing a relationship with my body and sensations, like sitting in the chair. And sometimes we start remedial, remedial. Just feel your foot on the floor. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Oh, it's in my. Oh yeah, I can feel. Oh, and then we'll build on that. Yeah.
I'd just like to bring up to just to give ourselves compassion here is that I can't I don't really know enough about other cultures, either current cultures or cultures in the past, but our culture simply doesn't really emphasize the feeling body.
No.
And so it's not reinforced for us. Wherever we go, what's reinforced is essentially, what are you thinking? And even though sometimes people will actually say, I feel when they mean I think, we're not really, it's not reinforced in our media. It's not reinforced in our arts. It's not reinforced even in our medicine to notice our feeling body on a continuous and regular basis. And so we're out of
Yeah.
practice. We're just out of
Yeah.
practice. And then on
Yeah.
top of that,
Way out of it.
and on top of that, the defensive part of our traumatized little kid has already determined that certain feelings aren't going to be allowed.
Correct.
And so not only am I not feeling just because my culture is not emphasizing that, also little Marty had certain things that were just too painful to feel that he figured out he could block out through this
Hmm.
process that he didn't even know what it was. He could do it. And so then it
That's a
becomes a habit that
right.
gets reinforced every year until we come into something like this where we learn. It's almost like learning to walk after you broke your leg. You got to start all over
Right.
again. And that's what I had to do. And it took me 3 years to be able of doing this work to be able to answer the question, what do you feel, without really having to stop and go, hmm,
Hmm.
because now
Yep.
I've created awareness of feeling as a possibility. Now the mind can't, the human organism, again, because so little of our mind is in the conscious realm, we're designed that I can't pay attention to every sensation going on in my body 24/7.
Correct.
But I can at choice focus on any sensation that's going on in my body anytime I want.
Correct. And at first, that's necessary just to start the communication to that and my next move, my decisions. So yeah,
Right.
very good.
And I just noticed that oftentimes, even people that have been doing this work for some time, I'll ask, how are you feeling in your body? In fact, many of our meetings, the one that I facilitate on Wednesdays, we have a check-in that's two simple questions. And one of them is, how am I feeling in my body? And
Hmm.
how often people don't answer that question,
Correct.
even though they've been coming to meetings for a long time. How am I feeling in my body? Well, something happened to me this morning, and the next thing you know, it's like,
Yep.
uh,
They go into a story about the feeling.
right. Are you willing to notice? Or actually, what usually I do is after I hear the story, okay, that's great. So how are you feeling right now?
Hmm.
So again, not anything wrong. It's just it's years of habit of just not noticing how we feel.
Right. And it's a survival technique.
Yes.
The trauma, I've been in accidents, car accidents, and I don't remember the accident, although I was there in the accident. I was there. So the body's got this way of keeping us from trauma that's death. So to a child, most trauma is death threatening. It's like you go to your room. Oh, for like a 2-year old, that's like that's being ostracized. And the way capital punishment in some of the indigenous cultures that I looked at was capital punishment was being told to leave the tribe.
Yeah. Exile.
So that's in the little boy's body. In the subconscious, I don't even know. Somebody walks out of the room and I flip out with abandonment issues, which are real to the child, not real to, because I can handle myself if she leaves for a minute. Yeah. But to the child, it's no, you can't leave. Or then we get into, charges of kidnapping and holding and violence and restricting and all that stuff I do as a man.
Yeah. So again, the principle that we're talking about here is I cannot not feel. I'm always feeling something. And just to bring the conversation to a close, the reason why this has a value is because the accountability tree practice is based on starting with how am I feeling? How am I feeling? And if I can't feel, I can't do the tree.
Well, it starts with, yeah, saying where you're at, whatever the character
Right.
defect is, which taps us into that truth, taps us into our feeling body, whether we recognize it or not, that happens. So,
Right.
yeah, that's another podcast.
And then the more that we do that, the more that we're in touch with how we're feeling, the more liberated we become. Because then I can work directly with the feeling, like you said, if I'm feeling something, so sometimes I'm feeling something I'm not even aware of what the story I'm telling myself might be that's producing the feeling. It might not be that sophisticated. It just
Right.
might be my traumatized little kid is looking for love and attention.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
so if I can, not if, when I stop and just feel it, I'm now in a place to create choice and to
Yes.
create something different, not to stop the feeling, but to allow it to finish. All that's it's not in this particular principle, but we could say all feeling finishes.
Moves through, goes to resolution
Exactly.
or action, proaction.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so what happened to us as children is that particularly feelings that are around this abandonment that you were just talking about, don't they're not allowed to complete. They get stuck in the body and
Yeah.
accumulate enough stuck, uncompleted emotion. You can have physical symptoms. You can have, I mean, I had Crohn's disease by the time I was 19,
Yeah.
which is essentially stuffing unresolved emotions into my gut. Until
Yep.
my gut just basically exploded.
Yep. Yep.
So it can be that serious. It can also just create all kinds of discomfort in our lives. It can prevent us from
How
having
is that?
healthy
How
relationships.
is that? How is that condition with you now? Crohn's.
Uh, I don't.
Are you still in the?
I haven't had a flare up in a long time.
Oh, good. Good.
So
Good.
and to be fair to medical science, medical science does not know exactly what it is, and part of it is because we don't know how to. This is the next frontier, and it's related to we cannot not feel. We don't know how to measure the impact of the emotion on the physical body, on physical symptoms, on disease. That's the next frontier That
Yes.
and as you know, people have been working on this since the beginning of the placebo investigations that started as far back as the 1960s.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a very exciting frontier, and that's the focus of our meeting on Wednesday. That we call it the gut check meeting to take a look at for those who are interested in how can the accountability practice, how can I use the accountability practice to relieve physical symptoms?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a good place for us to leave off and to let everybody know that we do this work in group, and the groups we have weekly group meetings, 4 of them a week. They're all on Zoom, and information on how you can join and participate is at the end of the podcast. The times and the dates, days, Zoom addresses are all there. Please join us and learn about how this information can be of value to you.
There you go.
So, as always, John, any last wrap up comments that you'd like to make?
Again, grateful to be in this conversation and this production of podcasts we do. It's like we're opening up conversation with people and new things to look at to bring relief. So cool.
Okay. All right. Well, like I say, please feel free to join us. And John, we'll pick up our conversation, the next principle next week.
You got it. Thank you,
Take
Marty.
care.
Uh-huh.